Have you ever wondered why half of the world's billionaires follow certain Jewish principles? This isn't a coincidence. It's ancient wisdom at work. Today, I'm going to reveal the secrets that have enabled a tiny minority to achieve prosperity that the entire world admires. Let me tell you something that might shock you. Your bank account isn't lying to you. Your financial struggles aren't bad luck. They're a direct reflection of your ignorance about the fundamental laws of wealth that have guided my people for over 5,000 years. You see, while you're sitting there, probably checking your phone every few minutes to make sure your latest paycheck cleared, there's a select group of people who never worry about money. Not because they were born rich, but because they understand and apply principles that you've been too blind or too stubborn to learn. I'm going to share a truth that might make you uncomfortable. Your current financial situation is entirely your fault. Yes, you heard me correctly. Not your parents' fault, not the economy's fault, not your boss's fault, yours. Why? Because while you've been making excuses, others have been making fortunes using principles that have been freely available for millennia. Let me tell you about David, one of my students. 5 years ago, he was just like you, drowning in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, blaming everyone but himself for his financial troubles. Today, he owns 3 successful businesses and has a 7-figure investment portfolio. What changed? Not the economy, not his education, not his circumstances. What changed was his understanding and application of the principles I'm about to share with you. The Torah teaches us, the blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it. But here's what most people miss. This blessing isn't about divine intervention. It's about understanding and applying divine wisdom. The same wisdom that's helped my people prosper even in the face of persecution, expulsion, and genocide. You might be wondering why you've never heard these principles before. The answer is simple. You've been educated in a system designed to create employees, not owners. You've been taught to trade your time for money, while we've been taught to make money work for us. You've been trained to fear risk, while we've been taught to manage it. You've been conditioned to see wealth as something that happens to you, while we've been taught that wealth is something you create. I'm going to tell you something that the wealthy know but the poor ignore. Money is not just currency, it's a language. And just like any language, it has rules, grammar, and syntax. The Jewish people have been fluent in this language for generations. Meanwhile, you're still struggling with its basic alphabet. Your smartphone probably costs more than the first car I ever bought. Your monthly coffee budget could fund a small business in some countries. Yet you wonder why you can't get ahead? It's because you're playing checkers in a world of chess masters. The Talmud teaches us that who is wise? One who learns from everyone. So right now, I'm offering you wisdom that has created more millionaires per capita than any other cultural system in history. But here's the real question. Are you humble enough to learn? Are you ready to admit that your way isn't working? Are you prepared to set aside your ego and embrace principles that might contradict everything you think you know about money? In the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you principles that have helped create more than 20% of the world's billionaires, despite Jews making up less than 0.2% of the global population. These aren't complex strategies that require an MBA to understand. They're simple, profound truths that have been tested and proven over thousands of years. But before I continue, I need you to make a decision. Are you ready to be honest with yourself? Are you prepared to acknowledge that your financial struggles are not bad luck, but bad choices? Because if you can't admit that, you might as well stop watching now. This message isn't for victims or excuse makers. It's for people who are ready to take control of their financial destiny. While many struggle to survive from paycheck to paycheck, Jews apply simple and effective principles that lead them to the top. The problem? You continue to believe that wealth is luck or privilege, while ignoring what really makes the difference: solid principles and disciplined action. Let me be brutally honest with you. Last month, you spent $247 on streaming services you barely watch, $420 on takeout food that made you less healthy, and $195 on impulse purchases you've already forgotten about. I don't need to see your bank statements to know this. I've mentored thousands like you. You're not unique in your financial mediocrity. The Talmud teaches us, a penny of your own earning is better than a dollar from someone else's purse. Yet here you are, swiping credit cards like they're magical wands that will somehow fix your future. You're not just poor with money. You're poor in your thinking about money. Let me tell you what your real problem is. You weren't taught to think like an owner, entrepreneur, or visionary. You were educated to be an obedient employee, while we've spent centuries learning to build, invest, and prosper. Every Friday night, Jewish families discuss business, investments, and financial strategy over Shabbat dinner. What do you discuss over dinner? Netflix shows and complaints about your boss? You're trapped in what the Talmud calls the poverty of knowledge. When was the last time you invested in your financial education? You'll spend $1,000 on the latest iPhone, but won't spend $100 on a book that could teach you how to make $10,000. This isn't just foolishness, it's self-sabotage. Let me share a story that might hit close to home. Last year, a young man came to me, proud that he had $5,000 in his savings account. He thought he was doing well. I asked him one simple question. What's that money doing for you? He looked confused. Like you, he thought saving money was enough. But as the Torah teaches, money must work harder than its owner. His $5,000 was lazy money, losing value to inflation every day. You see, there's a fundamental difference between how you think about money and how the wealthy think about money. You think $100 spent at a restaurant is just $100. We see it as a $1,000 lost, because that $100 properly invested could have grown tenfold. Every dollar in your pocket is a seed that could grow into a tree of wealth, but you're eating the seeds instead of planting them. Your smartphone probably has at least 5 shopping apps, but do you have even one investment app? You can name 10 different coffee drinks at Starbucks, but can you name 3 different types of investment accounts? This isn't accidental. You've chosen this financial illiteracy through your daily actions and inactions. The Midrash tells us, who is wealthy? One who is happy with their portion. But this doesn't mean accepting mediocrity. It means being strategic with what you have. While you're complaining about not having enough to invest, you're leaking money through 1,000 small holes. Subscription services you don't need, conveniences you can't afford, and luxuries that keep you poor. Here's another hard truth. You're addicted to instant gratification. When you get paid, the first thing you think about is what you can buy, not what you can build. The Torah teaches us to think in generations, not moments. Every financial decision you make today affects not just your future, but your children's future and their children's future. But you can barely think past next weekend. You know what's even more pathetic? You're probably nodding along to everything I'm saying, thinking, this makes sense. But will you actually change anything? Or will you close this video and go back to the same habits that keep you trapped in financial mediocrity? The Talmud says, if not now, when? So let me ask you, if you're not ready to change your financial habits now, when will you be ready? When you're in even more debt? When you're too old to work? When your children are suffering because of your poor choices? You're not a victim of circumstance. You're a victim of your own choices. Every time you choose immediate pleasure over long-term growth, you're choosing to stay poor. Every time you decide not to learn about money, you're deciding to stay ignorant. Every time you blame others for your financial situation, you're giving away your power to change it. Are you ready for the truth about how to break free from this cycle of mediocrity? Are you prepared to learn the principles that have guided the Jewish people to prosperity for generations? Because what I'm about to share next isn't just information. It's a complete transformation in how you think about and handle money. But remember, knowledge without action is like a bird without wings. Useless. One of the most powerful secrets lies in the Jewish understanding of knowledge and continuous education. From childhood, Jews are taught to study and master the Torah and Talmud texts, which aren't just religious books. They're practical guides to life, business, and discipline. Let me tell you something that might shock you. The average Jewish child spends more time studying financial principles before age 13 than you've spent in your entire life. While you were watching cartoons, they were learning about compound interest. While you were playing video games, they were understanding market dynamics. This isn't about intelligence, it's about priorities. The Talmud teaches us that every father has an obligation to teach his son a trade. Notice it doesn't say, get his son a job. It specifically mentions a trade, a way to create value independently. Yet here you are, decades into your life, still dependent on a single paycheck, still living in fear of your boss's mood swings. Let me share a story from the Talmud that you desperately need to hear. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai once asked his students, "If a man has a field of gold and a field of food, which should he plant first?" His students quickly answered, "The field of food." They thought they were clever, but they missed the point entirely. Rabbi Shimon explained, "Plant the gold first, because with gold you can buy food, but with food alone, you'll never have gold." This ancient wisdom perfectly illustrates the rule of the 3/3 that has guided Jewish financial planning for centuries. 1/3 for secure investments, your field of gold, 1/3 for controlled risk business ventures, your field of food, and 1/3 kept liquid for emergencies and opportunities. This strategy, practiced for centuries, ensures both financial security and constant opportunities for growth. But you're probably thinking this is too complicated. You'd rather keep all your money in a checking account, letting inflation eat away at its value, or worse, spending it all and living paycheck to paycheck. How's that working out for you? Are you proud of your bank balance? Do you sleep well at night knowing you're one emergency away from financial disaster? The Torah commands us to choose life, but every day through your financial decisions, you're choosing death, the death of your dreams, the death of your potential, the death of the legacy you could leave for your children. When you ignore financial wisdom, you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting generations to come. Here's another fundamental principle you need to understand. The Hebrew word for money, kesef, shares its root with the word longing or desire. This teaches us that money flows toward passionate, focused intention. Yet you approach your finances with all the passion of choosing what socks to wear. You've been taught that it's somehow noble to be disinterested in money, that focusing on wealth is shallow or greedy. Let me be clear. This attitude is not virtuous, it's suicidal. The Talmud teaches that poverty is worse than all other afflictions combined because it distracts from spiritual growth and prevents you from helping others. By staying poor through ignorance and inaction, you're not just failing yourself, you're failing in your duty to make the world better. Think about this. Every year, the Jewish community raises billions for charity, education, and community development. How much did you contribute to making the world better last year? Probably nothing, because you can barely take care of yourself. Your financial weakness isn't just a personal problem, it's a moral failure. The rule of the 3/3 isn't just about money management, it's about life management. When you divide your resources wisely, you're following a divine pattern. Think about it. Even God didn't put all the water in one place or all the land in another. Everything in nature is distributed with perfect wisdom and balance. But look at your life. You put all your eggs in one basket, your job. You have no investments, no business ventures, no emergency fund. You're violating natural law, and then you wonder why you're struggling. The universe doesn't reward foolishness. Here's what you need to understand right now. Knowledge without action is like having a map but refusing to take a journey. You can nod along to everything I'm saying, but if you don't implement these principles immediately, not tomorrow, not next week, but today, you're choosing to remain exactly where you are. Do you want to keep feeling humiliated every time you check your bank balance? Do you want to keep lying awake at night, worried about bills? Or are you ready to start really living? The next principle I'm going to share with you is even more powerful. But ask yourself, are you worthy of this knowledge? Are you ready to actually use it? Because if you're just here to listen and not to act, you're wasting both our time. Now let me share some practical steps that you need to start implementing immediately. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because every day you delay is another day you choose to remain poor. First, let's talk about continuous education. The Talmud teaches us that if you have knowledge, what do you lack? If you lack knowledge, what do you have? Right now, you lack knowledge, which means you have nothing. You need to dedicate time and resources to learning about finance, investments, and entrepreneurship. But let me be specific, because I know you love making excuses. Starting today, you will spend 1 hour every morning studying financial principles before you even look at your phone. That's right. Before you waste time scrolling through social media, you're going to invest in your mind. Read books about wealth creation, study market trends, analyze successful businesses. The Talmud wasn't written for entertainment. It was written to be studied daily. Treat your financial education with the same reverence. I want you to write down every single expense for the next 30 days. Every coffee, every subscription, every impulse purchase. The Torah teaches us that a person will be held accountable for everything their eyes saw and they did not consume. But you're doing the opposite, consuming everything you see without accountability. This stops today. Second principle, adopt the rule of 3/3 immediately. This isn't a suggestion, it's a command. Take your next paycheck and divide it exactly as I tell you. 1/3 into secure investments like index funds or bonds, 1/3 into controlled risk ventures or skills development, and 1/3 for essential expenses and emergency savings. Don't tell me you can't afford it. The Talmud says, "Who is rich? One who is happy with their portion." But this doesn't mean accepting poverty. It means maximizing whatever you have. If your paycheck is $1,000, then $333 goes to investments, $333 to growth opportunities, and $334 to essentials. If this means canceling your Netflix subscription or eating simpler meals, so be it. Your poverty is a choice, and today, you're choosing differently. Third, long-term investment isn't optional. The Torah teaches us about Joseph's wisdom in storing grain during the 7 years of plenty. He didn't wait until the famine to start preparing. Yet here you are, spending everything you earn, living like every day is a feast. This ends now. Starting today, you will invest in assets that appreciate over time. I don't care if you can only invest $10 a day. The Talmud teaches that, who is wise? One who sees the future. Every dollar you invest today is a vote for your future self. Every dollar you waste is a vote for staying poor. Which future are you voting for? Fourth, build your network strategically. The Talmud says, either a friend or death. Strong words? Yes. But look at your current friends. How many of them are helping you grow? How many are keeping you poor with their limited thinking and bad habits? Starting today, you will actively seek mentors and peers who challenge you to grow financially. Join investment groups, attend business seminars, find successful people, and learn from them. Stop wasting time with people who are comfortable being average. The Torah teaches us to choose life. That means choosing relationships that bring life to your dreams, not death. Fifth, take immediate action on opportunities. When Moses struck the rock, water flowed immediately. Not next week, not when it was convenient. The same principle applies to financial opportunities. When you see a legitimate opportunity to grow your wealth, act immediately. Stop overanalyzing. Stop waiting for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. There is only now. Sixth, create multiple streams of income. King Solomon didn't build just one temple. He created multiple sources of wealth. Starting today, you will begin developing at least 3 income streams. Whether it's a side business, investments, or freelance work, stop depending on a single source of income. That's not security. That's slavery. Let me be crystal clear. These aren't suggestions. These are the same principles that have guided Jewish financial success for millennia. They work if you work them. But if you're sitting there thinking, this sounds good, I'll start next month, then you've already failed. The Talmud teaches that the wise person acts immediately. What's holding you back? Fear. The Torah mentions, fear not, 365 times, 1 for each day of the year. Lack of money. The Talmud teaches that, who is rich? One who sees opportunity in what they have. Lack of time. You spent 2 hours on social media yesterday. Don't lie to yourself about time. The real question is, are you ready to stop making excuses and start making changes? Because everything I've just shared with you is worthless if you don't take action immediately. Right now, pause this video and write down your commitment to these principles. Not tomorrow, not later. Now. Are you ready for the next level of this teaching? Because what I'm about to share will show you exactly how to multiply these principles into generational wealth. But first, ask yourself, have you earned the right to this knowledge by committing to take action on what you've already learned? Let me share with you some powerful examples that prove these principles aren't just ancient wisdom. They're timeless truths that create wealth in any era. These aren't just stories. They're blueprints for your success, if you're wise enough to follow them. Israel is known as the startup nation. But do you know why? It's not just about innovation. It's about applying these eternal principles in modern ways. Companies like Waze and Mobileye aren't accidents. They're the result of people who understood and applied the same principles I'm teaching you. Let me tell you about Jacob, a modern-day example of these principles in action. 5 years ago, he was working as a software developer, making what you probably make now, barely enough to get by. But unlike you, he didn't waste time complaining about his situation. He applied the principle of the 3/3 religiously. Even when he only made $3,000 a month, he forced himself to divide it exactly as the ancient wisdom dictated. What happened? The first third went into secure investments, index funds, and bonds. The second third went into learning new skills and building his own software business. The last third covered his basic needs. He lived like a pauper when his colleagues were buying new cars and taking expensive vacations. They laughed at him, just like people are probably laughing at you right now for watching this video. But here's the difference. Today, Jacob's software company employs 50 people and generates millions in revenue. Those same colleagues who laughed, they're now sending him their resumes. This isn't just a success story, it's a testament to the power of these principles. Let me tell you about Sarah, another student of mine. When she came to me, she was a single mother with $45,000 in debt. Today, she owns 3 successful online businesses and has a net worth of over $2 million. How? She followed the ancient principle from Proverbs. Divide your portions among 7 or even 8, for you do not know what disaster may come upon the land. Sarah didn't just create one income stream, she built multiple streams, just as our ancestors taught. She started small, selling handmade items online while keeping her day job. Every profit was reinvested following the 3/3 rule. Within 2 years, she had expanded into digital products and consulting. Within 4 years, she had built a business empire that runs practically on autopilot. But here's what you need to understand. Neither Jacob nor Sarah had any advantages you don't have. They weren't born rich. They didn't have powerful connections. What they had was something far more valuable. They had discipline and wisdom rooted in principles that have created wealth for thousands of years. Look at the modern tech industry. Companies like Google and Facebook follow the same principles found in the Talmud without even realizing it. The Talmud teaches, "Who is wise? One who learns from everyone." These companies create free products that provide massive value first, building trust and relationships before monetizing, exactly as our ancient texts describe. Consider the story of King Solomon, who became the wealthiest man of his time. The Torah tells us he didn't just accumulate gold. He created systems that generated wealth. He built infrastructure, established trade routes, and invested in education. Fast forward to today. Look at someone like Jeff Bezos. Amazon isn't just a store. It's a wealth-generating system that transforms the way commerce works. The Talmud teaches us about Rabbi Yehoshua ben Gamla, who established the first public education system. He understood that knowledge is the ultimate wealth. Today, look at companies like Udemy and Coursera. They're worth billions because they follow the same principle. Spreading knowledge creates wealth. But let me be clear, these aren't just nice stories to make you feel good. These are real examples of what happens when you apply timeless principles in modern ways. The question is, what's your story going to be? Will you be another Jacob or Sarah? Or will you be like the countless others who hear these principles but fail to apply them? The Torah tells us about Joseph, who saw 7 years of plenty coming and prepared accordingly. He didn't wait for the famine to start saving. He acted immediately. Right now, you're in your years of plenty. Every paycheck, every opportunity, every moment you waste is part of your plenty. But the famine will come. It always does. Will you be prepared like Joseph, or will you be begging for help like the unprepared masses? Here's what makes me angry. You have more opportunities today than any generation in history. You have access to more knowledge, more tools, more possibilities than our ancestors could have dreamed of. Yet, you're probably sitting there, watching this on an expensive smartphone, making excuses about why you can't succeed. Are you ready to stop making excuses and start making history? Because what I'm about to share in the final section will show you exactly how to take these examples and transform them into your own success story. But remember, knowledge without action is like a bird without wings. Are you ready to fly, or will you keep making excuses about why you can't leave the ground? Now, the The choice is yours. Continue ignoring these principles or start applying them today. Prosperity isn't about luck. It's about following the right steps. The question is, are you ready to change? Let me be completely honest with you one last time. Everything I've shared with you today, every principle, every strategy, every piece of ancient wisdom, is absolutely worthless if you don't take action. Knowledge without implementation is like having a map, but refusing to start the journey. You might be thinking, this all sounds great, but stop right there. That but is the sound of your mediocrity making excuses. That but is the voice of poverty that's been whispering in your ear for years. That but is the reason you're exactly where you are right now. The Talmud teaches us that every person will be asked 2 questions when they leave this world. Did you conduct your business affairs with integrity? And did you set aside regular times for learning? Notice how both questions are about action, not intention. Not what you plan to do, not what you hope to do, but what you actually did. Look at your life right now. Look at your bank account. Look at your habits. Everything you see is the result of choices you've made up until this moment. If you don't like what you see, you have 2 options. Continue making the same choices and get the same results, or make new choices and create new results. Remember what I told you about the rule of 3/3, about continuous education, about building multiple streams of income. These aren't suggestions, they're commands. Commands that have created more wealth and prosperity than any other financial system in history. But here's what makes me angry. I know that 97% of you watching this right now won't take action. You'll nod your head, maybe even share this video, but you won't change anything about your life. You'll go back to your comfortable mediocrity, back to your excuses, back to your financial slavery. To the 3% who are different, to those of you who are ready to transform your life, I'm speaking directly to you now. Take out your phone, open your notes app, write down these commitments. Starting today, I commit to spending 1 hour every morning studying wealth principles before I look at social media. Starting today, I commit to dividing my income into 3/3, no matter how small that income might be. Starting today, I commit to building multiple streams of income, starting with just 1 hour per day. Starting today, I commit to surrounding myself with people who challenge me to grow financially. The Torah tells us that words create worlds. Your commitments, written down and acted upon, will create your new financial reality, but only if you act now. Here's what I want you to do next. First, hit the subscribe button on this channel. Not because I need your subscription, but because you need the continuous wisdom I'm going to share. Every week, I release new videos breaking down these ancient principles into modern actions you can take. Second, write in the comments below exactly what action you're going to take in the next 24 hours to start your transformation. Be specific. Don't write, I'm going to save more. Write, I'm going to automatically transfer 33% of my next paycheck into investments. Your public commitment will strengthen your resolve. Third, share this video with 3 people who need this message. Not because it helps me, but because teaching others reinforces your own learning. The Talmud says that we learn more from our students than from our teachers. By sharing this wisdom, you cement it in your own mind. You might think you have time to delay, time to think about it, time to get ready. You don't. Every day you wait is another day you choose poverty over prosperity. Every excuse you make is another brick in the wall between you and wealth. The same principles that built Solomon's temple can build your fortune. The same wisdom that helped my people survive and thrive through centuries of persecution can help you break free from financial mediocrity, but only if you choose to act. Remember, the Hebrew word for wealth, osher, shares its root with the word for happiness, ashrei. True prosperity isn't just about money. It's about creating a life of meaning, impact, and legacy. But you can't create that life if you're constantly worried about paying your bills. So I'll ask you one final time. Are you ready to stop making excuses and start making changes? Are you ready to apply these ancient principles to create modern wealth? Are you ready to transform not just your bank account, but your entire relationship with money? The choice is yours. You can close this video and go back to your comfortable mediocrity, or you can take the first step toward true prosperity right now. What's it going to be? Shalom, and may the Almighty bless your path to prosperity, but only if you're brave enough to take the first step.